For this production, I feel like looking over this band who has caught my attention on and off over the past few years. They just keep crossing my mind. So hey, why not get a review knocked out? I only have one friend who knows of this band, and I was the one who introduced him to him. Nobody else I know as of the time of this video knows that they even exist. With just the scattered tidbits of information I've been able to find, I've inferred that this is because, number one, the group is not native to my home country, the United States, and number two, really, their mainstream course was ran quite a bit of time ago. I'm not saying that they didn't make a mark, because apparently they did. They won awards, made spots on TV, and a fair amount on radio, and reached some pretty fair points on some charts. This all being in Australia. I speak of the Aussie alternative band, the Superjesus. No, they are not a Christian band, just in case you wonder. Allow me to say that I know nothing about Aussie rock culture. This is the only Australian band into whom I've ever looked this deeply. Go ahead, throw AC/DC at me. Believe it or not, I have not looked that deeply into AC/DC, and I really don't plan to. Want to hear about them? Go turn on the radio, because I'm honestly not interested in discussing them. Yeah, where would rock be without them and others? I don't care. Cartoons may not be where they are without Felix the Cat and the original Merry Melodies cartoons, but are there reruns shoved into our faces every single day of our lives? No. Why? Because there are other things to bring to the spotlight. Lost respect for me yet? Well, might as well break this down through their history. The Superjesus formed in Adelaide in the mid-90s, and their 1996 debut EP was called 8-Step Rail. Almost right off the bat, they won 2 ARIA awards in '97, one for Best New Band and one for Best Debut Single, being Shut My Eyes. Songs on this EP are pretty legit and quite listenable rock tunes. Hey, let's talk about this cover here. See that, what appears to be some statue's face? You know what that looks like to me? The character in the logo of the Frisch's Big Boy restaurant chain. Can that be what this is on this cover art? I have my doubts, since I'm sure Frisch's doesn't exist outside just a few Central American states. This Aussie rock band couldn't have gotten that image from Frisch's. Unless, of course, somebody associated with the band may have traveled in America at some time around when this EP was produced. I know that TSJ have toured in the US at some points.
We went to America. We did a few tours throughout America.
But there is no evidence of that happening during the time of this first release of theirs. Somebody could have driven by and snapped a photo. I don't know for sure. And I have yet to find any cited information about it anywhere, so let's move on. The Superjesus' first full-length album was released in 1998, titled Sumo. It featured some more songs that helped really start to give them their familiar identity. By this time, they managed to earn some spots on television the previous year to perform their next single, Down Again, including on the broadcast of the 1997 ARIA Awards. They also started to score some TV interviews, as well as reach some fair points on charts and with recognition, thanks also notably to a radio station called Triple J. The Superjesus took some time to tour in the US during the release of this album. When I listen to Down Again, you know what it reminds me a little of? Well, listen to the intro. Yeah, that sounds a little more human than a human. Also, the song Now and Then kind of makes me think of the Cranberries. Not saying they're ripping off anybody. TSJ is TSJ, their own spirit. They then released Sumo 2, which included the Sumo album on CD and a bonus disc with live audio recordings, which is also an enhanced CD, meaning that it functions like any old audio CD in any CD playing device, and apparently it also works like a CD-ROM on a computer and shows video clips. Although the CD-ROM function frankly won't work on my computer. I'll assume that it must only be functionable with certain older versions of Windows or Mac. The Sumo album CD that comes in my copy of Sumo 2 features different songs than the version of the original Sumo that I own. My copy of the original standalone album Sumo includes 3 re-recorded songs from the 8-Step Rail EP, and Sumo 2 features songs that actually replace a couple of the re-recorded 8-Step Rail songs on my copy of the first Sumo. Those replacing songs being Milk and Sink, which are some quite nice and original sounding tunes, I gotta say. The Sumo album's Wikipedia page says that there was a US release of Sumo, which accordingly is the one that features the re-recordings of Shut My Eyes and Strips of You from 8-Step Rail, replacing Sink and Milk, which apparently feature in the Australian release, possibly explaining those different tracks on my Sumo too. But I feel obligated to hesitate passing this information as accurate because, hello, no cited sources. Come on, people, if you're going to type this stuff, please at least cite it to something. A web link, a book, liner notes, even a TV segment, whatever. Moving on. Soon after the, shall we say, Sumo era, guitarist Chris Tennant left the Superjesus and was replaced with Tim Hinwood, who joined in recording and touring on TSJ's next album, Jet Age, released in 2000. This one has a melodic style that's a bit different from the other work. I could say that it seems a bit more poppy-ish, though I myself wouldn't call it pop. That's the best way I can put it, really, besides a few more personal opinions. Well, that Tim Hinwood guy seems to have left quite a decent mark with the Superjesus. He appears to have done some fairly solid performances. I can't help but wonder how they would feel today if they were to see some of these clips. Hey, now that I think of it, when I hear this song from Sumo called Saturation, it makes me think of Holy Water from Jet Age. Listen to the melodies and the vocals. Isn't it intriguing when you hear a song on an album by a certain artist that sounds kind of similar to a song on, say, an earlier or later album by that same artist? I'm not trying to say that's bad. Sometimes that just happens when artists write a new album. Some quite notable tracks from Jet Age that I could say characterize its style would be Over to You, this probably most unique out of the bunch, Checking In, which incorporates some of those electronic type percussion sounds, and one of my favorites, Gravity. Just listen to that sensational melody. Who writes stuff like that anymore? This music totally shouts previous generation. Jet Age is actually the first album by the Superjesus that I heard through all the way. And I first heard this whole album about a year and a half ago as of this video. Here's the first copy that I got, just to try them out. It's burned! Oh no, isn't that immoral? Not if you have a certain music retail store do it and you actually pay for it. But of course, I eventually ordered the real thing and waited a little while for that overseas shipping just to see what interesting things there may be to see about the original product itself. With Tim Hinwood leaving the band not too long after Jet Age's release, it was then, for the most part, just the trio consisting of frontwoman Sarah McLeod, bassist Stuart Rudd, and drummer Paul Berryman, all members who started the band, excluding one, who embarked on just a few more gigs with touring guitarist Jason Slack following one last album titled Rock Music. Sarah McLeod made a few final appearances on TV and radio as TSJ's frontwoman before the band later broke up around 2004. To take a moment and tell a little bit of a story here, Over and Out is the first song I ever heard by the Superjesus. I heard it on the credits of a Flash game when I was about 13. I didn't really keep the song in mind then, but this might sound a little weird, but one night at age 16, an age when I had really developed a craving for quality music, I suddenly remembered the song Over and Out. Yeah, that melody in the first verse just emerged into my subconscious all of a sudden once I lay down and was about to go to sleep. I felt I had to get up, get on the computer, and search Over and Out on YouTube before I'd forget about it, and so I hunted down its music video. 2 years later, the song came to mind again. So I decided to search it again, became familiar with the band's name, and therefore discovered songs like Gravity and Now and Then. They've crossed my mind on and off ever since. This may seem completely random, but some of this stuff makes me think of an old Sonic game. The only member of the Superjesus on whom I've been able to track down some legit post-TSJ information is their former frontwoman, Sarah McLeod. Over the years, she has done solo work and toured with an acoustic guitar pretty recently as of this video, as well as she got involved with a new formed band. She can be followed through her own website and Facebook page. She of course has performed some Superjesus material in the spotlight and in posted videos on Facebook. Whoa, what? The Superjesus actually have a Facebook page now that was started in 2012. I did see a video on TSJ's Facebook timeline that shows a segment of them actually performing the song Gravity. I've also heard from a fan that they've done another performance or two with Tim Hinwood as of this February. That's good enough of proof for me that they've recently reformed, but one way or another, I could be mistaken. Although Sarah McLeod seems to be active either way, only a few certain places in the world will be able to see McLeod, maybe the Superjesus, perform at this point in 2013. I especially know that if you're American like myself, and you happen to be interested in catching a performance, then unfortunately you'd have to gather quite a bit of spare cash and vacate far away from home for a bit. Oh well, perhaps there's always Modest Mouse, Coheed and Cambria, or Circa Survive once they start touring again. Hence possible future video topics. Before I close this out, I gotta go ahead and say that this band is one of the coolest sounding bands I have heard consisting of a female singer, along with, may as well mention, Zoloft the Rock and Roll Destroyer, who I discovered through Anthony Green research. And back on Anthony Green, even though I made a now in production video, it may be a while before I could actually complete a review of Anthony Green's involvement. Honestly, I've only been familiar with him for about a year and a half, and when it comes to current plans and work on video reviews, my hands are pretty much tied to bands and music artists whose material I own already, and I don't own all of Anthony Green's material just yet. Plus, unfortunately, money's kind of tight right now for me. But I do intend to get to Green at some point. This has been the modern-day suburban kid who collects all the junk that everyone else left behind. Thank you for watching. Over and out. It's over.